Welcome to Scatter Travel TV with our continuation of this series on our cruise to Alaska. Now our cruise went from north down south. So our first stop was in Skagway. So this is where we started in Whittier, and we're going south. Most of the cruises come from the south and go north. But this is where our first stop will be, is in Skagway. Skagway's right here on the map. And then from there, we are going to tour Skagway and then go up the White Pass and pass into Canada. So we'll actually be up in the Yukon Territory up in Canada. Did you know that in the Yukon there is one grizzly bear for every family of 5, and there are like 6 caribou for every person? Animals almost outdo the people. I hope that lasts. I really do. This area that we're going up to view is absolutely beautiful, and we get a chance to go up into Canada in the Yukon and go over that White Pass.
It is possible to walk from the cruise ships. It's not very far, several blocks into the town, and the town's not very long, but you can see behind me kind of how far it is, and then double that, and that would be about how far it is from the cruise ship itself into the town. So you have the option to walk. There are shuttles that go, so you can either shuttle or you can walk, either one in. If you're looking this direction, you'll see how far it is the other way to where the ships are docked. This is in Skagway, Alaska.
Skagway is just a fun little town. It's like the epitome of what you would expect for a town in Alaska. Wood buildings. I mean, they're painted really pretty. And, you know, they've got the storefronts. Just a very nice place to go. Everything is within walking distance. And so you can walk around the town and have time to go shopping. It's a nice place to go. We went on an organized tour. We went on the Yukon White Horse Pass tour, and we took the bus rather than the train because, one, it was just a lot cheaper and it goes the same route. Now, Skagway had 3 different booms. The first boom was, of course, the gold rush boom. That's what started the town. The second one, though, was World War II. That one was a bit of a surprise to me. And the third one, of course, is now tourism. Skagway, like any other town, has the tourist town, any other tourist town anyway, has the problem of all of the jewelry stores coming in and stores from out of town. Shop at the local stores. I always say that. Kermey's is one of the great local stores. It's a place to stop and go where local artisans are there doing their work, and you can see them at work and also buy locally. There's a lot of stores that are local, but there's also some old ones. This is Captain Moore's house, just really quickly on the tour. So you can find out which ones they are. Now that's Days of 98. That is a show. It's like a little melodrama, and the melodrama was really fun. We went to that. We'll cover that later. It's in its 89th year of having been on. As we look down one of these streets right here, we are going to see an old women's college, but it is now the City Hall. It is the oldest building. Here it comes in Skagway. So oldest building, it's a rock building, City Hall. So we chose, like I said, to go shopping here. They gave us time for that, as well as to take a tour by bus going up through the Yukon Pass. So here we are going up this road that goes between Skagway and Whitehorse, which is the capital of the Yukon Territory in Canada. This is a phenomenal drive. It is beautiful. And you follow, as you can see, the railroad goes right along on the other side of the little canyon. And so you can watch and see where the railroad goes. And we saw the railroad as we went by. This pass was just difficult for the people to make. This was the gold rush. They were trying to get to Dawson City where there was gold. And so this was one of the ways. There was a couple, but this is one of the ways that people went. What they found out is when they got to the Canadian border is that they had to have with them 1 ton of food and supplies in order to go in. And so that required then that they made several trips because they couldn't do it in one trip. So this was an arduous journey to go back and forth, and it's cold and it's freezing, and people, animals lost their lives. It was really difficult. And so the word went out, let's build a railroad because that would make it easier. Well, it took so long to build the railroad that by the time the railroad was finished, the gold rush was pretty much over. And so, the people that got there were the ones who made this awful journey. Now, as we drive along, it's a really pretty place. But then we have a highway. We're in the summertime. It's much better than it used to be. But I can imagine how difficult this would have been looking down into this canyon and had there been no roads and just a trail in order to pack a ton worth of supplies up there. And the reason is that there was no way to sustain your life without that. And so they had to have those kinds of supplies, or up in the Yukon they would have died. And so, it was for their good that those regulations were put in place. You can see how pretty this is. Look at the waterfalls coming down. This was just such a neat drive with such beautiful scenery. It was also very foggy. The closer we got to the top of Whitehorse Pass, the more dense the fog became. They told us we would be really lucky if we really could see beyond the fog, because fog is a big problem sometimes up there. But the fog cleared. We were able to see the train on the other side. This is just a passenger train. The White Pass route opened in 1900. It was closed just due to lack of economic use. It just wasn't, feasible to use it because of the cost and not a lot of people using it. And so it was closed in 1982. But it soon reopened, like I said, with that third boom, which was the tourist boom. Tourists started coming as the cruise ships came, and they opened this road again in 1988. And so now you can take this train. The ride on the train would be beautiful also, with the cars, either original or ones that were built to replicate the originals, that you can ride in these passenger train cars going up the White Pass to Whitehorse. And so you can take the train. It's a beautiful ride. And now they have this for tourists, and that's what they use it for. And so we watched as the train went alongside of us. And so we enjoyed kind of both, even though we took the less expensive route. But I do believe that both the train and this tour that we were on both have somebody to instruct you and tell you about, a tour guide that tells you about the history as you take this ride. I was talking about the fog. The fog lifted, and they were just amazed because other tours had not had as good of luck as we had with the fog. Like I've always said, though, I have a weather angel. Thank you, weather angel, for making sure that anytime I happen to travel, it just seems like the weather is perfect. The weather was perfect that day. Everywhere we went, the fog would lift as we got there, and we were able to see everything, including as we got up to the top of the pass and we came to this lake. It was gorgeous and quiet and still. And in there they had told us about the Inuit people, native people to the area, and they made these Inukshuk. And I know that I am terrible at pronouncing these things. I have gone on and listened to people say it, and it's still difficult. But Inukchucks, and see, it's just awful. I need to put this on one of those lines where you screw up and then you have to show them. Inukchucks. They made these, but they were made in the places, the original people, the Inuits made these in places where it would show other people as they came along that they had been there, that someone of their culture had been there. And it would signify specific things, like a good place to hunt for seals or caribou or to fish. And a lot of times they'd make these little window openings in them, or ways that would point right to where that was, so that the people would know. There was another series of Inukshuits. Inukshuit is like, it means more than one, or there's a bunch, but they would use them and they would pile a bunch of rocks on, and underneath would be where they would be preserving some of the caribou meat. So as people came through, they would have meat to eat. I watched some series on the Inuit people, and that really interested me. So here we come to this little lake area, and there are tons of these made all over the place. And I'm sure it's because as the tourists come through that area, they're told these stories, and so then they each want to make their own, as we did.
The Alaskan wilderness is just really something. We are now in between the Canadian border. Well, actually, we are now on the Canada side. The family is making one together. Here's some more. I don't know if you can.
Right, here's a good one, Debbie.
Take a picture of it and I'll put it in.
That's a really good one.
Galen's helping me here with some pictures. Taking pictures of them so we can stick them in. I know that some of my shows are a combination of photos and video, but that's for your pleasure so you can see some of these things a little bit better.
We're here in Skagway, up going over the White Pass. We're in Canada right now, and we stopped at a beautiful lake with lots of rocks around, and you can see little Canuck chucks. They're rocks that people stacked on top of each other. A lot of them look like people, and during the Canadian Olympics, that's how they got their mascot, was these things. So David's going to take a look at all these different rocks they made.
I think one of the really great things about this tour is being able to go up through the White Pass and seeing these Inukchuks. I can't pronounce them. You can see that everybody that did it made some mistakes with the pronunciation, but it was fun to experience. We could actually build them, and that was a fun experience to bring the present day together with a very ancient past culture and be able to feel a part of it. It was fun to pick out my own little rocks and build my own little Inukchuk. And so our family did it, and so did everyone else that stopped there. So if you get a chance to go up over the pass, that really is one of the highlights of that tour. Then as we left, it was again foggy as we passed down, and as you could see while we were there, the weather was great. But as we went on down, we went to where we could have our pictures taken at the Alaskan border. And so we all stopped there in the fog, and we got out to take the pictures, and by the time we had our picture taken, guess what? The fog had cleared, and so we were able to have our picture taken. So it was another fun stop on the way for our little trip from Skagway up to White Pass and back down to Skagway. Thanks for joining us at Scatter Travel TV. I'm Debbie Gerber, your host, bringing you what I hope are shows where you can enjoy some of the world with me. Also, that you can help prepare you for when you travel or when you go to see these places, so that you can see what it is you want to do before you travel, so you can make excellent plans. Come to our website at www.scattertravel.tv. We have some awesome deals for you on travel. You can book your travel there. There's some coupons and discount codes there for you to use. I hope you enjoy your travels. Keep joining us for more travel destinations.